As we continue our study of slavery, the big question we're going to look at today is what is the relationship between the North and the South? We've talked about slavery. We're going to enter in a time where we're also going to look at the northern states and what was going on there. The factories, the buildup of factories, and all of this relates to, we go back down to the South, and it's very important for you guys to understand the distinction between the South and the North, okay? It's very important to understand that distinction because it's going to help you understand the relationships between the two economically. So we've spent a considerable amount of time talking about the four themes of slavery, okay? The four themes, once again, the lack of freedom, the violence, the racial inferiority, the lack of family relationships. And each one of those had a profound effect on the people who are slaves. Now let's take a look at the increase of slavery. What happened to bring about the increase in the number of slaves? If you're able to answer that question, what happened about what brought about the increase of slaves, then we're well on our way, because this also brings about the increase of factories, the buildup of the factory system in the North. And this is where we begin to see a relationship between the North and the South. So let's begin. We know that slavery, most of it, slavery is found in the South. So this is where we have our dividing line here. Okay? We know that cotton is produced in the deep South here. And with the cotton, it has to be exported to somewhere. That somewhere is in the New England states. This is where we begin to see a relationship between the two. In these New England states, we see the buildup of factories. This buildup of factories brings in people, mostly women and young women from the farms whose families are basically sending them off so they can make money for the family. It's not that they're not needed in the farms, it's just that the farm life was very difficult, and it's very difficult to break even. So these women were sent to work in these factories, such as the Lowell factories in Lowell, Massachusetts, in the New England states. So once again, we go to our question: what is the relationship between the North and the South? So let's think of the South. What's in the South? Let's think about what's in the North. Okay, think about the economies. What is in the economy in the North? Think of the maps, the interactive map you look at. The interactive map you're going to be looking at today is going to show buildup of industry. Okay, who works in these factories? Think of the South. We think of agriculture. Who's working there? Think of the workforces. Who's doing the work? Who's benefiting from this? Who's making the money? And if you're able to figure that out, then you're able to figure out the relationships. The North and the South were very much connected to each other. Even though many people in the North were against slavery, there was a very, very close connection between what was happening in the South and the products that were being produced there, where they went, and who's doing the work in the North. At some point, some people are even going to compare the North, the workers in the North, to slaves in the South. But as we'll see, there is a very great difference between the two.